there's a lot of me that feels incredibly guilty about my career. Not because I didn't enjoy it, but because it came at a cost to so many other people and other things, and to a large degree myself. You know, even your mates growing up, do you fancy going out Friday night? I know I've got a game Saturday. Do you want to come out Saturday night? No, I've got scans Sunday morning. You know, I mean, everything, your normal life, because day to day goes out the window.
It affects your relational life, doesn't it?
You know, not just with the people you live with, but also the people that... And I look back on my career and think, did I take it a bit too fucking seriously?
Yeah.
Did I? Was I so obsessed with winning, and was I so obsessed with the feeling of winning and the addiction to fucking the adrenaline that it gave me, fueled, and the adulation that it brought, and and all the, what the fuck was I? Because there must have been a huge cost, and there was to my own personal development, and there was to anyone that I came around, you know, because. Yeah, we were invincible and unbeatable, but there's a lot of collateral damage.
So welcome once again to the pod, and today, finally, I've managed to get my own mate from my London Wasps and Lions days, Lawrence Dallaglio, onto the pod. Lawrence is, as many of you will know, a former England and Lions legend, and it's such a privilege today to have a man of his stature on the show, to talk about, you know, some of the learnings he's experienced in his life, predominantly through some of these setbacks he's had to endure. Lol, good to see you, mate.
Yeah, great. I mean, I know I'm a hard man to pin down these days, and lots of different reasons, but it's good to see you too. Yeah. I mean, I listen to you quite regularly on the pod. I see you, you know, doing stuff with other people, so I'm always kept a close eye on what you're doing, as I do with everyone that I've come across in my sort of professional career. Yeah. Very proud of the people that I worked with, and very proud to see them doing well. I tend to ignore all the noise that I hear. You know, when you ask people about, you know, how's so and so doing, and they start to tell you all this shit. I said, have you told him?
Yeah.
Go, oh no, I wouldn't do that. Well, why are you telling me then? So, you know, and that's another interesting dynamic when you work with people for so long and then you lose touch, and then, you know, it's important that you pick up the phone every now and again and just check in and don't listen to all the nonsense that gets said. For sure. But good to be here, really good. And you know, as I said, I've been following some of the readings that you put out there, the posts, the spiritual journey that you went on. When I spoke to Gats many years ago, I said, what's happened to Whitey? He said, oh, he's gone all spiritual on me, and he's got himself a little bit.
He's found God.
He's found God or something. I said, well, it happens to us all, mate. You know,
at some point, exactly.
I grew up with God, but you know, I know you obviously. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you've played what we did, and I consider you as in that bracket, because it was as intense for you as it was for any of us. Yeah, you've done it your whole life. You need to go and develop and find yourself and do something different.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're all about potential, you know, we need to be challenged, don't we?
Yeah, of course.
In different ways.
Of course, and you know, listen, I've, I mean, just to bring you up to date, I never really meant to play rugby, and that's the journey that people don't really understand when they look at you and they see this kind of, you know,
alpha
Godzilla, kind of huge bloke, partly down to you and the fitness team, really, but. I was never designed to be that big, for starters, but they see a very big person. They sort of naturally assume that you were born to play rugby. Yeah. And maybe I was, but certainly not mentally. I never set out like young men do these days and go, one day I want to be a professional rugby player. You know, I loved sport when I was growing up. I played football, thought I was good at that. Then I played against someone who was really good and thought, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. But just loved all sport. And rugby was one of them, but it never stood out to me because it just, I mean, if you're going to choose something to be good at, getting your face smashed in every week, that isn't necessarily top of the pile. So, and it wasn't till later on in my life, about 15 or 16, that I started to enjoy it a bit more. I mean, the quality of schoolboy sport is very high now. I mean, the ball would have been dropped about 15 times before I even touched it. So, I found it quite complicated. But as people, it's been well documented that I had a lot of trauma I had a lot of love in my early life. I can't look back and reflect and think I didn't get, I was given unconditional love by my parents, my mother mainly, because that's just the way she was around more, and a support system and a belief system that anything and everything in life is possible and achievable. So if you have those two things together, that's pretty powerful. And then obviously that got to a point when I was 16 where it was completely shattered and blown apart through the death of my sister and the Marchioness, and that is a seismic event in your life.
You were 19, right?
She was 19.
She was 19. 16. You were 16, right?
And sat around the table with her and my mum having dinner. She invited me on to this birthday party she was going to. I said no, which was unusual for me, and she never came home. So I think having lived quite a bit now through my life, or certainly the first part of my life, you sort of, things do happen, but there's normally time to process them. Like your parents get old, they eventually pass away. Hopefully they don't die overnight. When someone that you love and cherish, you lose overnight, I think the consequences and implications are quite different. And I think, the reality is that I've probably never really addressed it at the time that I needed to. I'm not sure. I was offered a little bit of support and therapy, but really I just wanted to kind of get on with my life, and that's the reason why I joined the rugby club, really. I needed a family, a support system. My mum was in one direction, plunged herself into the campaign for justice. My dad had a heart attack and was really struggling, and I was in a different direction. So from a very tight, close-knit family to be blown apart, and that's where rugby really came in. I opened the newspaper. It was by pure coincidence. Was stuck out. I went, right, I'm going to go there. Had no idea where it was. Got there, didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you. Walked in, I thought, I must be lost. This can't be the team at the top of the table. It's like a working man's club, and a really shitty one at that. And I walked in, and I knew I'd arrived in the right place, because I was just searching for some identity, just a family, just someone to put their arms around me, really, and give us a bit of a hug. What I noticed when I walked into WAS is that no one asked me any questions. No one, where are you from? There was no, there's a stigma around rugby that it's kind of posh boy sport, and it's, this, that, and maybe, historically there has been a bit of truth in that, but I didn't get that when I walked in. They just said, you look fit and well, and you come. And it celebrated difference, and that's what I really liked about the club.
Right.
There was lots of characters, and I just started to rebuild my life, and that was kind of, I said to people at the time, that was my therapy. Probably wasn't the best therapy, but it was what I needed. And my mum started to come and watch me play. My dad started to come back, and slowly we rebuilt, the life. So really, the kind of whole why I ended up playing sport was around family, really, to try and honour the memory of my sister, to try and repair myself, to try and repair my parents. And to a certain degree, I think, I could say that I can reflect and say I did that. But it also came with a few with a few problems further down the line, because I had no idea that the game was, it was a hobby. It was just a Tuesday and a Thursday night. And that's what made it such fun, because you didn't feel like you were tied to it. And then suddenly, overnight, well, not suddenly overnight, but, I joined in 1990, 5 years later. They said, right, you can't, it's not Tuesday and Thursday, you got to turn up Monday morning, so I had to give up my job. And at one point I did think I was slightly off my rockers, because I sort of gave up my job as a property surveyor, doing quite well, to be one of the first full-time rugby players. And when I look back, I was thinking, I didn't know what I was doing, but no one else knew what they were doing either, really. I mean, the coach was Nigel Melville. He came up to me and he said to me on Monday morning, he said, can I have a word? I said, yeah. He said, I'd like to make you captain. I went, why me? He said, well, you're the first one here. I said, oh, right, okay, not because I'm any good. And that's kind of it, really, him and Rob Smith. And then I remember them saying to me, well, we're going to do this, we're thinking about doing this training drill, what do you reckon? I went, well, where did you learn that? And they went, what do you mean? I said, well, you were a carpenter last week, so where did you learn that? So, I mean, I think no one knew what they were doing, really, but it was yeah, it's just so that's the kind of beginning of the journey, really. And I think when you have, and we talk about setbacks and adversity, I think you learn that nothing in life happens in a straight line on an upward trajectory all the time. You know, there's going to be some bumps in the road. I think we learn that. You turn the telly on, you see social media. There's bad shit happening all over the world. I mean, at the minute, and there's bumps in the road for everyone.
Of course.
And I think what I didn't expect was for one to be an earthquake so big, that, you know, and happen so early on in your life. You know, you sort of, as a parent, and I'm now a parent of three kids, beautiful kids. You know, there's a natural sort of journey in life. You know, they bury you before you bury them. And I think when something like quite traumatic like that happens, it changes your life forever. And I always say to people, look, there's nothing. I was never really a student of the game. I didn't really like rugby that much. It was all about the head and the heart for me, and I talk about that a lot. You know, everyone measures everything these days, don't they? You know, especially in terms of fitness and conditioning and skill. And no one's allowed to make any decisions unless they've got the data to back it up. I can't pick him because, you know, he doesn't get off the floor quick enough and all that nonsense. Yeah. Well, the two most important things in life and in rugby are what's going on in here mentally in your brain and what's happening here in your heart, in my opinion. And connecting those two things together is quite powerful. I mean, your training obviously is important, and that, you know, the repetition of your training, and when you get to those pressure moments in big games, your training obviously kicks in, and doing the same things over and over again at a high level gives you the tools that you need to win those moments and ultimately win the game. But I still believe that more games are won before a ball's even been kicked. And, you know.
It's interesting hearing you say that you didn't really kind of enjoy it that much. I sat with Mike Brown here 2 hours ago and I said to him, did you enjoy your career? And he went, no. He said, yeah, but I didn't really have much time to enjoy it. And
oh no, I enjoyed the output. I enjoyed the, I mean, it's just a great feeling winning with a group of people. But what is that? Is that your craft? Not really. It's about shared experience, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And, you know, listen, if I was a mountain climber, I'd want to climb Everest, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Why would you do it on your own?
Yeah.
I mean, you get to the top, you know, and you've struggled all your life to get there, and then, you know, if you finally get to the top, you look out and you think, well, it's a fantastic view. Who are you sharing that with? You know, that's the philosophy anyway, and that's probably what attracted me and kept me playing for so long, because it wasn't the craft itself. I mean, there were elements of the game that I really enjoyed, but it was more the shared experience and the feeling of having to work really, really hard to get something, and achieving it, and knowing that you're gonna get there, and then refocusing and going, right, we're going to do that again.
How was that shift for you from like training 2 times a week to training twice a day?
Well,
was it a shock? Was it tough?
Yeah, huge shock for everyone. I mean, you know, it's, you know, you've got to be, you know, when someone pays you to do something, it changes the relationship inherently, doesn't it, really? But it never really changed the relationship for me, because I was never expecting to be paid, and I can promise you now, and it's probably why I don't have very much of it, money has never been my god. I mean, yes, you know, we need it. It's a commodity but you don't really need too much of it, to be honest with you. You don't need as much as you think you do.
Yeah.
And I was never driven by any financial reward. I mean, yes, there were times when I was the highest paid player in the country, believe it or not, even at Wasps. Not as well paid as the coach, I found out, but you know, I was well paid. But I didn't care. I mean, you know, it wasn't about the money. It was about the why. Was much stronger purpose, and my purpose was very personal, to honour the memory of my sister, but also just to be part of something that was like a tribe. You know what I mean?
So you had a great deal of responsibility, didn't you?
I felt that because I was always, when I was the younger sibling, I was always able to do what the fuck I wanted, and you know, your older sibling gets the blame, don't they, really? And my sister was so purpose driven. She was an incredible talent, naturally gifted, and worked incredibly hard as well. And at the point where she was just about to launch into all the sort of fruits of all that hard work, share their life taken away. So it does make you question an awful lot. And I think there's an element, which I still haven't managed to reconcile, of being a little bit reckless as well. You know, because when something like that happens, I think you become a bit more of a risk taker, really, because you just think, fuck it. You know?
Well, especially if you don't allow yourself to grieve and you channel it into something else. Yeah,
and no one really, you know, when I look at the tools now that professional sportsmen have at their disposal, I am quite envious. When people said, you missed the game, I said, no, I don't miss the game, because I got out of it more than I ever thought I would in the first place.
Yeah.
And much more than the medals or trophies or money.
Yeah.
But I do miss the opportunity that presents itself to the players now, where they've got so much more knowledge and their potential is limitless, really.
Yeah.
And that's the bit I miss, because it feels like they can just be a lot more of their own. They can handle themselves without having to worry about everyone else.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just, you know, I spent most of my time concerning myself with everyone else, really, and looking after everyone else.
Do you miss playing?
No, I miss something about it. I miss the feeling of it.
Yeah.
But that's companionship in a sort of I miss being around sweaty blokes and just having fun. And
I bet you miss training with me and Bobby, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I actually took it seriously, I don't know, could have fucking been. I mean, listen, I feel very blessed, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. I had the set, you know, I played 6 years of just amateur rugby, and then 13 as a professional. Well, beginning as a professional.
Yeah.
I think I eventually worked out what it was all about, and you know, I stayed in one place for my whole career. You know, no regrets about that. It's just the way it was. You know, I was very passionate about playing for my country. And I think once that flame was extinguished, I didn't really have because it was never about earning any money. You know, I think I retired 6 months after I finished playing for England. You know, maybe these days I might go to Japan and go and experience something.
Of course,
else.
yeah.
Go, you know,
there's no opportunities, isn't there?
Someone would offer me 3 or 4 times my salary and said, you fancy the south of France? You might That might help the bones a little bit, but no, I don't miss that, because being part of an elite sports setup, elite team, high performance team, whether it's club, country, Lions, whatever it might be, I mean, it's the most incredible feeling in the world, but you have to win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe that sounds a bit, you know, simplistic, but it's such a selfish career.
Of course.
You know, selfish to yourself, because there's so many things that you have to not do in order to do what you do, but also selfish to everyone that comes into contact with you, from your family to your wife, kids, because they have to change their life to allow you to do what you do. And I say this to a lot of people. I just said, are you happy what you're doing? They go, yeah, sort of. I said, well, you know, it's quite a selfish career. You don't spend any time at home.
Yeah.
What are you doing it for?
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
Are you good at it? And they go, well, sort of. I go, well, if you're not good at it, do something else.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, so it's easy to reflect on rugby and say, well, I just fell into it. But if I was losing more than I was winning, I can assure you, I would have questioned that a lot.
Yeah.
And there were times, which I'm sure we'll talk about, where you have to lose occasionally, and it allows you to question yourself and your environment and your teammates in a way that is quite honest. And but you can't be losing more than 2 or 3 games. Otherwise, you just think, well, why does everyone else have to make that sacrifice?
Yeah.
And you're not even any good at it.
Yeah.
So I think, and then you realise that there's a formula for success, which, you know, you need people like yourself, good coaches, good support system, and then the rest is down to you. And you sometimes sort of fall upon a formula that works. It's just so powerful.
Yeah.
And we had it for about 3 or 4 years, and we kept it going for a bit longer as well. And that's the bit that is quite the magic, is the bit you miss, the little magic in the middle, because it's not down to me or you, or it's not down to one person. It's down to the alchemy of the people that were there, and that's the bit I miss. But then you can recreate that in different environments. But I always say to people, if you're not winning at least 75% of the time, then you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
And yeah, it certainly feels like that. And the other thing that rugby, or certainly nowadays, I don't know what the players are like, but what it never really allowed me to do was to look back. I mean, I did briefly for like a little bit. You do a review of a game, but that's it. And then you haven't got time to do anything else.
No, you're just on the conveyor belt, aren't you?
You're on the conveyor belt. And I think that kind of suited me, but from the minute my sister died, I was on that conveyor belt anyway.
Yeah.
And I was never looking back.
Yeah.
I was running 100 miles an hour.
Of course.
And not really too sure where I was going.
Yeah.
And at some point, and then then you get a bit of discipline, and the rugby gives you a focus, but it's a focus with outlets as well.
Mate, do you know those years when you were captain?
Yeah.
How did you approach leadership? Let me just elaborate on that. So I've been in the changing rooms with a lot of different rugby captains, and there's something about you that touched me more than any other captain. I remember before the finals that we played in, I remember the way you kind of connected the team and brought the team together before the games. I'd look over at Sean, and I'd look over at Gats, and I'd look over at Bobby, and we were all fucking crying.
Well,
and but in the space of a season, you weren't like that all the time. It's almost as if you approached it and you backed off, but then when in the big games you really can't. Was that on purpose?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, you can't,
because you didn't try and be the best captain in the world week in, week out.
And also, listen, I mean, I talk a lot, and I sometimes too much, and I accept that, and I know.
But how did you approach leadership though back in those days? What was important to you?
There's different ways of leading, right? I think when I said I came across, I was given the captaincy very early on at Wasps, 22 years of age. I looked around the changing room, a lot of experienced players had all left, but there was a lot of players much older than me, much more experienced than me, and I was thinking, what am I going to say? I was terrified, I was shitting myself. And really, you just be yourself. And I think that's the thing that I try to do the most. Is my job, in my opinion, is, I've always believed that, yes, training's important, yes, the detail's important, tactics, technical side of the game, but really it's about believing you can win. Because for me, the most important thing about winning is believing you can win. If you believe you can win,
for sure.
If I believe it and I persuade everyone else that we can believe it, doesn't matter who's in the dressing room next door. Can be the fucking All Blacks, can be the Springboks, can be anyone. They're not going to win. And they might be a better team technically, and often they were. And they might be tactically quite astute as well, but the game is based on emotion as well. And maybe I was thinking to myself the other day, would I have had to, in this modern game, would I have had to dial that down a little bit? Because there were moments when we'd go out and the occasion would be so big, and I'd even think to myself, I've overcooked that a little bit, to be fair, like Munster in the semi-final, and Trevor gives away, but for me, there's nothing I can say in the dressing room to anyone, even from the age of 22 to even the last game I ever played, that is going to make them better rugby players. All the work's done. You've done that. Coaches have done that. All the work is done. But what I can do is a bit like, and this is going to sound a bit silly now, but a bit like when you go to church or you go to whatever gathering is your religion, someone speaks and they have a theme and that binds everyone together that week. And the theme has to change, because when you're saying the same shit every week, I'm sorry, but it's just not going to wash.
Yeah.
And therefore, when I always think coaches, when no wonder if your players don't turn over every 2 or 3 years, and you're the same, you're giving the same message with the same group of coaches, eventually we're not machines. The players are going to go, no, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So it is about finding a little theme every now and again, and sometimes it's just instinctive and intuitive. Like I'd walk into the dressing room for a club game and I'd think, it's a big game, and I'm looking around and that you can there's an emotional sort of barometer that you can feel whether a team, you feel it earlier on in the week, right? But then as you build towards the game, whether you need to sort of dial it up or dial it down. And everyone sort of said, Lawrence, he's a bit of a drum beater and, pumps his chest. And I wasn't like that all the time. I wasn't like that.
I in the dressing room before the game, I'd see you like.
I mean, you play. It's like
you're a conductor. That's what you were like. You say, right, guys, chill out for a bit.
And
so
therefore,
it's like you brought them to a crescendo just before we went out.
And that suits their narrative for after dinner speeches and the lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels and all that nonsense. And of course, I've got got a bit of a London accent, but the reality is, quite a lot of it is opening myself up. I mean, what people connect. The reason that people connect is that, I have vulnerabilities which a lot of people might, from the outside, might go, oh yeah, look at that. He's got, he's armour plated, mate. There's no one's going to get. But actually, people that got close to me, I let them in. I showed them my own vulnerabilities.
Well, that's how you connect.
I showed them my own failings. And we're quite simple human beings, men, really. Because if I do it to myself, then everyone else is thinking, well, they've got that as well. And a lot of the time, they're thinking exactly the same. Self-doubt's really interesting, And once the whistle blows, there's no place for it. But trust me, I've been in working environments on a Monday, Tuesday, where you think, fucking, how the fuck are we going to win this game at the weekend?
Yeah.
But body language is also massive. And you learn that as a sort of, if you're someone with responsibility, if you're showing that on a Monday, I mean, it's okay that you feel that way, by the way, because it's only Monday.
Yeah.
There's no medals on a Monday.
Of course.
And I think you work out a formula for how you build yourself up and the team up to a crescendo for delivering on match day. But I've had plenty of times where I question myself. I've got self-doubt like any human being. But maybe I just don't show it as much as other people because I was always taught not to show that sort of when you walk out the door, you've got to be strong. And that's both double-edged sword, but I think that's the important thing. And then they're looking at me thinking, well, he thinks we're going to win, so so that's half the battle, isn't it, really? Yeah. And then I think there's a formula that you try and you feed off each other, really. And you guys were a massive help in that because, as much as it's an emotional game, if you've worked too hard during the week, you've got no chance anyway. But I really enjoyed that part of the game. But it comes at a cost as well, because getting yourself ready to go into battle every single week, it's really hard. Yeah. And what people don't realise is that the schedule that we undertook was, we were playing at some point 30, 40 games a season.
Yeah, bonkers, wasn't it?
And over again. And if you don't get injured, you're doing it again and again and again. And there's only that many times you can go to the well, really. But I did enjoy it because it ultimately, successful sides are built around trust and consistency. A bit like life, really. A bit like parenting. If you're born into chaos and there's no trust and there's no consistency in your life, then chaos follows you. If you're given love and trust as a kid, and you're nurtured in the right way, and it's consistent, and then you layer things, over and over again, then ultimately you're on a good path. And it's the same in sport. You've got to keep a group of players together. You can't just fucking bin everyone because you lose 2 or 3 games, or bin the coach, or bin the players. Because you've got to have that suffering a little bit. You've got to have the pain, the feeling of, and ultimately, obviously you have to tweak things. If he's not good enough, that would be a natural kind of evolution. And you add and you keep layering, bringing new things in, new ideas, new fresh things. But ultimately, it's about keeping a group of people together and having that trust and consistency. And the success will come, and it does come. I mean, I didn't win much with England until it took 6 years to get that team to be the best team in the world. What I really didn't like is we went from there to there overnight. Because, well, we didn't actually. We were the best side in the world for 3 years. We won 47 out of 50 games, including 15 against Southern Hemisphere, home and away. But then as soon as we won the World Cup, that was it. Gosh, we went from there to there, and I don't think that should ever happen. Yeah. You're obviously never going to be the best, forever. Yeah. But I think that for me, that was the challenge of doing it. And then once you start winning, it's a bit like anything. It becomes quite infectious and quite addictive. Now I'm not sure it creates the right behaviours all the time. Yeah. You stay humble, but that's not easy. Not everyone does. Once you're the hunter, the hunter is easy. Once you're the hunted, it's become a bit harder. So, but that's the challenge of doing the same things over and over again, but they're just doing it better than anyone else. Yeah. And then when everyone else thinks they've got it, you've actually moved it on. And that in itself is quite addictive as well, because winning 1 year is not enough. You want a dynasty. You want to create something that is a legacy, and that's quite challenging. But again, in order to become that person that goes into the arena and fucking, like it's quite gladiatorial, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of pressure.
As well. Sorry, he's dead. Right, you're out.
Yeah,
there's you in now.
There's a lot of pressure as a professional player.
But it also, it's not. You never really get to find out what about yourself really, because there's no time. And that's the thing that I really struggle with, because I went into rugby not really understanding myself, to be honest with you, and I've come out the other side, with all these trophies in the cabinet and all these accolades and decorated, and just some of the greatest memories you'll ever experience, with the likes of yourself and many others, and things that you could never put a price on.
Of course.
But there's a sense of not really understanding what it was all about and what it was all for. Really.
Some good nights out though, right?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean,
let's go.
That's part of the journey. I mean, listen, if I used to, again, you say, well, what's leadership? Well, lads, if we're successful, there's a high chance that we're going to go out tomorrow, and we're going to have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And we're going to enjoy each other's company, and we can pretty much do what we want. If we don't win, we're not going out.
Yeah.
We're going to go upstairs. We're going to have a couple of cheekies together, and we're going to discuss why we lost and who was fucking responsible.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds quite dramatic, and I've said this on a few podcasts before, but I believe it. Well, I learned a lot when I went to spend some time with the Special Forces. They must do something right. And I read this book called The Mind of a Psychopath by Kevin Dutton. And he said there's people on death row that murder people, right? And it's very tragic, but they're not quite sure why they murder anyone. They get to a point in their crossroads and they behave in a way, and sometimes it's calculated and they know they're doing it, but often they just don't know. So something flicks in their brain, and they're a psychopath.
Yeah.
There are people, and he interviewed those people, there are people who are trained to be psychopaths.
Yeah.
And they're in the Special Forces, and they know what they're doing. They do it for a living. They're trained to do it.
Yeah.
And they know what the outcomes are, and they know what the risks are. And then there's sports people who don't kill anyone, but they have the same traits and the same behaviours, where the training is a certain percentage of those sports people that get to the very top. And I'm not saying those behaviours are all good, by the way.
Of course.
Because, but they are a formula for success.
Well, they drive human performance, don't they?
Yeah. And
they're not always great in the human intimate relationships for you.
No. Because you have to create, in my opinion, you have to create this, not alter ego, but this imposter. But the person that goes out on a Saturday or a Friday or a Sunday or whatever it is into the arena, you're not that person every day of the week, because you're a fucking monster. I mean, that is it's horrific. And and whatever, and some players can't get themselves to that, that state of what they need to do to transform themselves, a bit like a boxer or anyone, jumping off the helicopter. And what I realised very quickly, said some, because I was in with the Special Forces, and they'd had one of their biggest losses that they'd ever had. They lost about 5 or 6 people, which is big, but they'd been involved in a 10-hour firefight against 2 battalions. I mean, there's a handful of them. You know what I mean? So, anyway, this was the 2nd year anniversary, and they were all quite emotional. And I sort of, I was just fortunate enough, along with a few of the other England team, to be with them at that time. And I was in tears by the end of it. We'd spent a week with them, and they were talking us through it. And they said, when you go into these situations, you're trained to do what you do, right? But obviously things happen that you're not, that you've just got to rely on your training. But if you don't do your job, then that bloke over there, who's your mate, doesn't get back on the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then you've got to go to his mum and dad and tell his mum and dad why he's not here.
Yeah.
And that's so it's quite dramatic, and I guess the lessons I learned from that were that when you play sport at the highest level, and no one dies, hopefully, but if you don't do your job very well, no one moves forward.
Of course.
And so I kind of took that mindset into playing, really. That serial winners detest losing. Yeah. Detest it. And the feelings we used to have when we lost games, I couldn't sleep, I had anxiety, I'd be critiquing yourself. What did I do right? What did I do wrong?
Stressful, eh?
Stressful, and you're fucking moody. You're miserable. You're a horrible parent. You're a horrible father. You're a horrible partner. And that's horrible. That's not a nice person to be around.
It's hard not to take it home, isn't it?
Yeah, 100. Well, I mean, impossible, in fact. And I admire the players who are able to leave it at the door.
It's tough, mate. A lot of elite performers have tricky intimate relationships.
Well, and unfortunately, the people that you choose to be with, or they choose to be with you, they didn't sign up for any of that fucking shit, did they? Really?
No.
And that's quite, and that has its guilt. That comes with a huge amount of guilt.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of me that feels incredibly guilty about my career. Not because I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But because it came at a cost to so many other people and other things, and to a large degree myself. Even your mates growing up. Do you fancy going out Friday night? I know I've got a game Saturday. Do you want to come out Saturday night? No, I've got scans Sunday morning. I mean, everything. Your normal life, because day to day goes out.
Yeah, it affects your relational life, doesn't it?
Not just with the people you live with, but also the people that. And I look back on my career and think, did I take it a bit too fucking seriously?
Yeah.
Did I? Was I so obsessed with winning, and was I so obsessed with the feeling of winning and the addiction to fucking the adrenaline that it gave me, the fueled, and the adulation that it brought, and the and all the what the fuck was I? Because there must have been a huge cost, and there was to my own personal development.
Yeah.
And there was to anyone that I came around, because we were invincible and unbeatable, but there's a lot of collateral damage. And I understand that, and I'm still trying to reconcile.
I think even more so when you played the game. It's like I'm still consulting right now, and there's a lot of coaches around now, unlike when you were around, and they understand that there's space for the players to relate.
Well, I said to George,
it's not as you know what I mean. It's different.
No, but
they understand families.
But I don't blame the coaches for that.
Yeah,
I blame myself, because I've had very honest conversations with them. If you listen, I'm going to be here fucking 20 years, you're going to be here 3 years.
Yeah.
Who's making the decisions around here, me or you?
Yeah.
You're going to fucking go that way and fuck off when you've had enough.
Talk to me about the news of the world.
Well, I think the first thing that I think you have to appreciate in life is that I'll tell you, the best thing to talk about the news of the world is that I'm here 26 years later, and they no longer exist.
Yeah.
So I don't know who won that one, but I'd like to say I did.
And by the way, I'm not saying it's wrong to have a night out. I'm just saying.
No,
I'm just thinking. Was there anything going on at the time?
It got white van drivers supporting rugby anyway. I mean,
were you going through any stress then at all, or was it just you were stitched? You were just stitched up.
I was stitched up completely. I mean, what you say behind closed doors to someone in private is not what you would say to your mum and dad or to the to anyone really.
Yeah.
But at that time I didn't realise that. Listen, whenever anything bad happens to you, well, you have to look in the mirror, don't you? Whether it's catastrophically bad or whether it's you lose a game, the first place you look is in the mirror at yourself and say, what was it me?
Yeah. And
when people talk about any of the scars that I've carried, the emotional baggage, I mean, I am responsible for quite a lot of it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't affect what happened to my sister.
Yeah.
Maybe I could if I'd have gone.
Yeah.
I might have been able to save her life. I don't know, but I'd have probably been dancing downstairs anyway.
Yeah.
But the point is that I could have done things a lot differently, and I carry a lot of emotional baggage. But then that's part of who I am. I was emotional going into rugby.
Yeah.
I did some fucking daft things, and that was daft. That was really silly.
Yeah.
I lost the captaincy of England. I don't give a shit about that, to be honest with you. People say, well, do you not feel that you should have been the bloke holding the trophy?
Of course.
Do a fuck. I came into this world with... I wasn't the captain when I started playing for England.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the captain when I finished playing for England.
Yeah.
Now, if someone decides that, Lawrence would like you to captain the side, that's great. But I've never felt that I needed to be the captain to put an opinion across.
Yeah.
If I had something to say, I'd say it. And I'd expect the people around me to say it as well. So when I was captain, I'm looking at the other players going, if you've got something to say, just fucking say it. Don't wait for me to say everything because I'm running out of ideas here. So the news of the world was, and do you know what upset me more than anything else? Because I accept the responsibility, my own part in it. When you're on the front page of every newspaper for 10 days, it's horrific, and you just want World War III to break out somewhere. But I learned an awful lot about the game itself. I thought rugby didn't really handle that very well at all. You know, Robbie Fowler scored a goal the same week. You know, pretended to snort cocaine.
Of course, yeah.
Cocaine. It wasn't that good a goal.
Yeah.
All right, and got he had a private hearing with the FA. He got banned for 2 weeks, and you know he got suspended 2 weeks' wages and banned for a week. I was on the front page of the News of the World, stitched up, completely stitched up by, you know, the fake sheikhs or whatever to sell newspapers to make money. I was charged with bringing the game into disrepute. There was a public hearing. We invited the whole world's press, and they had Lord Chief Justice Popplewell presiding, and I was basically, you know, kind of rolled out and brought into court in front of the whole world. And I thought, you know, who deserves that? So,
exactly.
You know, the game was, I mean, rugby just didn't really know how to deal with professionalism or administration or anything really. But I think, and the thing that upset me more than anything was not what it did to me, it's what it did to the people that I care about, really. I brought my mum, even, you know, and listen, when I say unconditional love, I don't believe any of that. You know, but I knew it hurt her enormously because of what people were saying, you know. Yeah. And obviously my family at the time, my daughter had only been born a few months before that, and, you know, that must have had, whether I realised it at the time, just huge amounts of emotional and invasive trauma, which they didn't, you know, it's hard enough being a parent and a kid as it is, let alone that. So,
of course.
But, you know, it did open rugby, it did open up to a new audience. I used to, you know, I came from a very working class background, and I listen, it's not, I think that would I have preferred it not to happen 100%, but it happened, and I have to accept my fair share of the blame. And I tried to learn as much as I could from that and move forward. And I mean, 99.9% of the people that write in the media, let alone sport, are brilliant people. You know, they work hard. You know, we've all got a job to do. And then there's a few idiots. But what's happened subsequently since then, you know, with the Levinson inquiry, with phone hacking, it's you know. In this country, whether we like it or not, on social media, Christ, if I had to play rugby now, there was no camera phones, there's no social media. It'd be a very difficult proposition. But the, you know, in most civilised worlds, the government run the media. You know, in this country, the media pick the government and run them. Yeah. And then they're also in bed with the police as well, so everything gets shared. Of course. So, you know, there's pros and cons of living in this country, but what I didn't allow it to do was make me cynical and close up. You know, I've always looked at the Irish rugby squad and thought, God, they've got a terrible relationship with their own media. I fucking hate them. Yeah. I said they're very wary, maybe because they've had to endure a lot of criticism. You know, of course. And I thought, I can't. On the one hand, the game has put me there, right? And as a captain of a team, and this is another thing, you know, that I always was quite careful, and sometimes got it horribly wrong. But if you're clever, forget the tabloid media. If you're clever, you can subliminally send messages to your opponent and to your teammates by what you say in the media, and that's part of the game. If you're building up to a big week, you know, some people go, I don't like doing it, you know, and they're celebrated for not enjoying the media. Well, it's okay to enjoy it, because for me, every time someone puts a microphone in front of you, it's an opportunity. Of course. Because you may not want it, but it is an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to sow seeds of doubt in your opponent. Yeah. And let them know that you're not only are you up for this, but you're actually going to win it without going over the top. And there's times when you do go over the top and you think, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. Or your coach does that for you sometimes as well. Yeah. As Gat said, well done. You know, I used to say to him, well done. Yeah, you know, Gats was good at that. The bloke getting your face smashed in at 3 o'clock. Yeah. I mean, what were you thinking? But it, and also afterwards as well, in defeat, and I've come off pitches in South Africa where we've lost a game, and you've got to front up. You just say, you know, because they want to ask you the questions, and you go, yeah. And before you answer the question, I'd like to apologise to the nation for that performance. It's totally unacceptable. We know it, you know it, and we'll be doing everything we can to put it right. And I suspect we'll put it right next week. Yeah. And of course, the journalists, and if you're watching your TV, you really want to shout at your telly, then you go, well, I can't. I mean, he said it. He said exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah. And just front up. And when players play well, it's okay to say that. Of course. And to celebrate that. And when players don't play well, and this is the bit that I get a little bit upset with, call them out.
Yeah.
And that's another interesting concept, because I said to a lot of my mates who are all coaches now, I said, what's the... and that's the other question that I get asked all the time: why aren't you coaching long? You've got so much to offer, why aren't you coaching? And you know the honest answer? Not because I'm afraid, not because I don't want to, but I just felt when I was so emotionally, I was gone at the end of my career. I'd given everything to the game.
Of course.
I'd give mentally, physically, and emotionally. I was fucked, and I was so overdrawn. I thought, if I coach, I mean, as it turned out, I got divorced in the last couple of years anyway. But I would have been divorced a lot longer. And also I wouldn't have had any relationship with my children. In the same. I mean, I don't quite have. It's not as good as I'd like it to be now. And that's because of the selfishness of being away all the time. But it's still there. I wouldn't have any. And I look at the guys now and think, how can you do that? You've got to move house every 3 years. There's no stability. And, we all need roots at some point, even me. We need roots. All that success that came with WAS was because I had stability. Not all the time, but I felt like I belonged there. And change is inevitable. People come and go. You went, Gats went, but I was the constant, because when you're constant, you can build. And,
of course.
And that's what childhood need. Kids need some sort of they need some sort of stability, don't they? Really, especially at an age. And that's the thing that I could never get my head around. And sometimes there's a bit of regret there, going, well, you get to the end, you get to 50, and it's pretty chaotic anyway. So what were you that worried about? But I just felt like I gave everything to the game. And maybe I didn't feel like I owed anything more to the game. And maybe that's part of the journey. Some of the best coaches that I've ever worked with are people that still felt maybe that there was something missing. Whereas when I finished,
you were done.
I thought, I couldn't do it anymore.
Let's go into that, mate. Let's go into when you finished. But if we just rewind it, you're 16, your sister passes away, you found rugby, it's give you a purpose, you've gone full steam ahead, you've not really grieved your sister, you've gone full steam ahead, boom, on that professional train eventually. Didn't your mum die towards the end of your career as well?
My mum was suffering from cancer for the last 2 years. I mean, if you remember, I mean, the peaks and troughs are well documented, but you can Google them easily. And you Google plenty of other things as well, but you can Google them. I'll say to people when you meet them, they say, "Who the fuck are you?" I mean, I've obviously had my charity, which I'm very proud of. I work with kids, and that's part of maybe the way I give back to rugby is through working with kids. And when I walk into these schools, which are can be quite feral, there's no kids that are born bad. They're just born into chaos. They haven't had the support system that you and I have had. They haven't had someone to pick them up and whatever. And you can change behaviours. Rugby changed my behaviours. It changed everyone's. But when I walk into these schools, they look at me and they go, "Who the fuck are you, mate?" And I go, "Well, Google me." Actually, maybe don't Google me. That's a terrible idea. And then the following week they go, "You're sick, bruv. You're sick." I said, "Well, I'm not that sick, mate, to be honest with you." But I think, look, the peaks and troughs were incredible, and we, I look back and I think to myself, wow, what a ride. I mean, it was an incredible journey.
But I'm telling myself,
I mean, it was out of control at times. But there were so many highs and there were so many lows. And I'm aware of them. And life's not like that. You can't be like that all the time. Of course. Because, I don't think there's a physician that's got the answers to how you deal with that. And that constant fix that you need to get up there and get down there and whatever. I don't think it's necessarily in most people's careers. They have promotions and they do that, and then they might get. I don't know. There's small little things. Ours were seismic.
Of course.
But it started off that way, and maybe there's a part of me that's quite enjoyed that as well. Coming back, proving people wrong.
Resilience.
Learning through whatever you need to keep the train moving at pace and when ACL reconstruction, ankle reconstruction, people saying your career's over, all sorts of different things that, whether it's tabloids, scandals or whatever it might be. Yeah, of course, some of it was my fault and I accept the responsibility for that, but love the fucking challenge of proving people wrong and going, do you know what, and also the other thing is, I don't really, and this is maybe something that's a bit reckless, I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
The only people I care about are the people that are around me, you know, that are close to me, because they see the real you. And there's part of that, you know, maybe when people would look at me post-rugby and seemingly think I've had the most incredible post-rugby transition, but I've had the same struggles as everyone else.
Well, I imagine it's been hard for you because you've been, and then all of a sudden it's ended, and you have to feel life.
Yeah, of course, and I've never had to, you know, never. So
had was that tricky?
Also, rugby itself, yeah, massively tricky, and I'm still working it out, mate. To be fair, I'm 53, still working it out, but that's okay because you realise that life is about working it out. You know what I mean? Some do it quicker than others, some do it, you know, whatever. Yeah. But when you've been going at such a pace, you can't expect it's all going to happen so quickly. And a bit like the game itself, you are going to make mistakes. Yeah. And I seem to make, you know, a few. You know, it's inevitable because sometimes the best people to be around are not always the. They have faults. They have fault lines as big as the fucking equator. You know what I mean? So
when you retired, did you build some support around you? Did you have therapy or coaching or anything like that?
And that's the thing that I struggle with. I think the game could do a lot more to help players. And yes, there is a lot more done now in terms of support. Yeah. But a lot of people say that I'm unapproachable. I'm not unapproachable. I just seem like I've got everything I need. So maybe I give out the vibes that I'm you know, that everything's pretty cool. But no, I mean, I've had my own struggles, and people look at me and think, you know, well, you've achieved everything in the sport. You know, you've got everything seems to be going in the right direction. But no, I never really dealt with the decompression when you finish playing sport. I never really gave myself that opportunity, and I'm partly to blame for that because I had quite an expensive lifestyle. I've got quite a big family. I've got mouths to feed. You know, schools. I've got huge bills coming in, and I could, you know, what I really could have done with. Yeah. Right. At moments throughout my career, but certainly at the end of it, it's just someone just to say, go and have 6 months just to fucking go and find yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And unfortunately, I never really, part of me just didn't allow myself to do that, but equally I couldn't afford to.
You had responsibilities.
I mean, you know, there wasn't a big, like a pot of gold at the end of the fucking, I mean, I got a longer dinner than everyone else and a watch and a tankard, but I didn't get much more. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't expect anything more, but what I'm saying is the game doesn't allow you that and maybe I could have I just needed someone to put their hand on me and just say, look, Lawrence, you need to slow down a bit here. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, you know, to reconcile a lot of the damage that you've done over to yourself. And, you know, and you need to just, and I didn't do that. And as a result of that, maybe there's a few fault lines in, you know, further down the line. But
have you tried therapy at all? Any type of therapy?
Yeah, 100%. But I think when I was doing it, I mean, I've tried it all the way through my career, really, but not in the way that I should have done. I approached it in the wrong way. I mean, you need to be open and honest and not see it as a chore and not see it as a, you know, I used to go into therapy and I couldn't wait to fucking get out there. Yeah. I mean, you know, and I'd think, what shit am I going to fucking spin in this year? Because I spent most of the last 30 years lying to myself. So
I hear
and that's the challenge. Was I this is the sort of nub of it for guys who end up challenging themselves a little bit was I like that anyway? Am I just a bit of a wrong one? Or did I create that persona, that person, to become the person that I had to be in order to deal with the shit that I had to deal with?
I think the latter.
And to go out on the rugby field and do what I did every single week, I had to lie to myself a lot.
Well, 100%, man.
I mean, I had to fucking convince myself because I wake up on Monday, Tuesday, and I'd be as broken as the bloke next to me. Yeah. What the fuck am I doing this for? And I would have to, and I'm thinking, when I'm leading this thing, and I can't walk in there and be broken, so I'd ignore the fact that I'm broken, and I'd have to create this kind of armor plating that goes around yourself, and desensitize yourself to any fucking emotion and disappointment, and that in itself is a whole chapter in therapy, really, that I need to, you know, because I was very good at it. Clearly, I became so good at it that everyone else fucking believed it as well. And you kind of, you know, you can't be that invincible person all the time. But while you're still winning, and things are still going well, and and every time you leave the casino, you still got lots of chips in your hand. You know, you think, well, I must be doing it right. Yeah. But what I've learnt over the last, you know, because I've been retired a long time now, since 2008, and losing my mum was huge. I mean, losing my sister was bad enough. My mum was such a big part of my life,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of being a role model, mentor, everything really. And she passed 6 months after I retired. So she was almost like she held on because she was suffering for about 2 years. And then I retired from England in the World Cup final. I started playing for England, we lost to South Africa. I finished my last game playing for England, we lost to South Africa. So someone had a sense of humour. I sort of entered the stage by the same way as I left it, really. But we managed to, as I remind my South African friends, we actually beat you quite a lot in between. But because they do need telling and bringing down a peg or two. I think the losing her was huge. And now my dad's still very much alive, but I'm struggling with that because he's got dementia. He's 92. He's in a care. I've had to put him in a care home at huge cost. I'm trying to reconcile my relationship with him, his relationship with me, at a time when it's quite difficult to do.
Yeah.
And there's a tremendous amount of guilt that he probably had guilt for many years.
Yeah. Because
he just sort of used his way of being a father as just sort of going out and providing and working really hard.
Which is what his dad probably did, eh?
Which is what, yeah, and therefore I he spent more time with my kids than he did with me.
Yeah.
And now it's so that's quite tricky because I do feel I've got no siblings, no a very little parent, and so that can be quite a lonely, dark place sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean I painted a picture of that it's all. I mean, it's not all bad. Trust me. I mean, I'm happy, and I've always had that. On the flip side, no matter how much is going on in the world, the world's fucked at the moment. I mean, I look around and think, why is everyone fucking doing silly shit to each other? It's really bad at the minute, and it's quite toxic and greedy. And you read the news and you see social media, you think, what are people doing, man? The world's gone crazy. So you try and distance yourself from that. And I've tried to bring up my own children in a way that is that gives them some boundaries and some you try and look back at your own past and you take the good things that happened in your upbringing and then you try and lose the things that damaged you a little bit. And you end up making a slightly better job, but you don't quite get it right because you bring a little bit of the baggage that you still haven't dealt with yourself. But I think by and large, I look at my own children who are 27, 25, Ella, Josie and Enzo, and I look at them and think, and I'm really proud, and think, well, maybe I picked up the wrong children at hospital or something, because they've turned into really good kids with, even despite the fact that their parents might be a little bit broken. But the good news is that, a bit like I'm no longer on that runaway train at 100 miles an hour because I'm 53 and you just can't be like that. I'm very proud to say that whilst internally there's still a lot to fix, and I'm working very hard on that, I haven't had a single surgical operation since I finished playing rugby.
It's good because you had a lot when you played.
I finished I had about 15 when I played. But it was just like putting the car into for a service. And that's all you looked at it as. How long will it take to fix a car? Yeah. And they go, well, it'll take a bit longer. It'll take 7 months. And you go, well, I'll go into that factory that makes me bigger, fitter, stronger, faster. So I think I've always tried to learn from the setbacks and come back as a better person. But physically, I feel I look at some of the cohort that I played with and I go, let yourself go a little bit. But then I would say that to them in the changing room as well. Why would you change? You've got to remind people.
Mate, I remember a match once. We played Bath. We were playing at home, and I remember in the tunnel. I remember you and Josh. You were both saying, "Lads, we're going to fucking have a field day today. Look at these fat cunts."
Well, no, I know, but I mean, listen, I didn't always get it right. I said some things where I might have overstepped the mark. And listen, the game is about respect and. I got it more right than wrong, and I've said to players that I played against afterwards, I said, I need a word with you. I said, what you said to me was unacceptable in any situation, and I'm going to tell you in front of all your teammates now as well. I said, if you ever do that to me or any one of my players ever again, you'd be struggling to walk again. So, and there's values that the game has to have really.
Mate, do you mind if I ask you a question about your relationship?
Yeah.
Only because I think as blokes, we can build things, we can get shit done, we can persevere, we can be resilient. But for me, our edge is in that relational space, because nobody fucking teaches how to relate to the opposite sex.
Yeah.
What have you learned in your life through the relationships, and how do you show up differently now with your partner compared to how you may have done in the past? Has anything shifted?
I think honesty, really. I think just being transparent. And that's the you know, as you go through this journey in life, you know, I've always said this, we arrive in this world with nothing and we leave with nothing, you know, and it's ours to fuck up along the way, really, because we're beautiful when we arrive, and you know, we go to a better place when we leave, hopefully. But we get this journey, we fucking bring all this baggage on board, and I've got loads of it. And I think as you go through life, and you slow down a bit, and you get to your 40s, and you get to your 50s, and you just got to declutter your life, just get rid of the and
tell the truth, eh?
When I say tell the truth and just be honest, but you can't until you're truthful with yourself.
Yeah, I hear, because I've not always told the truth.
Until you're truthful with yourself, how can you possibly? And
you can't.
And that is partly you, but partly because you've been you're like Jason Bourne, mate. You've been fucking programmed to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
To ignore all this bad shit that happens in your life, and only do. And in many ways, that makes you powerful, but not forever.
And then we label that as high performance.
Oh, fucking high performance. Yeah, it's fucking it's sadistic, mate, and it's masochistic, isn't it? Really. So yeah, I think you know, honesty is the only way forward. And for someone who preached honest conversations all the way through my career, and I was quite brutal sometimes and brutally honest with some of my teammates and colleagues, I need to practice what I preach.
Yeah, I hear.
And I say that to myself all the time. And you know, you've got to be honest with yourself, mate, as well. And I was able to be that throughout my career. Yeah. Because I used to. In many ways, I didn't have to say it because people saw it in me. You know, whilst I thought I had a bit of a coating, you know, I went through a lot of struggles in my own career, but I opened up quite quickly with the people around me, and that was quite powerful.
Yeah.
But I think, honesty is and it's okay to put your hand up. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I've dealt with a lot of shit in the last couple of years, particularly. And as tough as I am, and as tough as I've learned to be, you know, sometimes even I need a bit of fucking help. You know, I've had my dad, you know, dying, I've had, you know, all sorts of trauma that I dealt with. Yeah. You know, relationship breakups, you know, didn't want it, but it happens, these things, and you've got to take responsibility for that. Yeah. Changes your relationship with certain individuals that you know, very close to. And for someone who built his whole life and game around confidence and belief, you know, you can have your own knocked a little bit and all. Yeah. And when you lose your kind of, you know, when that becomes your kind of, your superpower's gone, you know, you start to doubt yourself. And
yeah, because you've got to feel the feelings that you didn't have to feel when you
that too. And also the slight added layer of complexity is that whilst I'm not the most famous bloke in the world, I'm also not the most fucking subtle or you know, I have to share, rightly or wrongly, I have to share a lot of my feelings and thoughts with the fucking rest of the world.
Yeah.
You know, so the minute I walk out the door, you know, if I burst into tears, someone sees it, you know, and takes a picture of it, or you know, and I'm not saying that I've got a problem with that, but I mean, I walk into bars and places and people are filming you. You go, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know, have a meeting with yourself. You know, what are you going to show? I mean, what do you want to post that, or you know, and there's this perception of people's lives, and you know, every time someone, when I grew up, I used to ask sportsmen and women, or famous people, for autographs. You know, now everyone wants a photo of you, and then I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'll try and be, you know, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, right? So you try and be this guy that, but you think to yourself, you know, no wonder Paul Gascoigne took 3 hours to walk down the street because he couldn't fucking get anywhere. Yeah. But then they post their photo in their digital diary called mylifesbetterthanyours.com, you know, which is what people do.
Of course.
And then everyone immediately knows where you are. Do you know what I mean? And so I struggled a little bit with that, because as much as there's a recognition that comes with being a high performer that you don't always, you never went searching for that, let me tell you. And people go, oh, come on, Lawrence, you're a Leo, you love it, mate, you love being centre of attention. To a certain degree you do, but you don't love everything that comes with it. You know, if And that's not to say because I'm in trouble or anything. It's just everyone knows where you are all the time, and sometimes it's just quite nice to switch off.
Of course. What support do you have around you, mate? Like, you've got your partner, you've got your kids. Like,
yeah, kids. I mean, listen.
Like, do you have any close friends?
Yeah, I've got friends. Yeah, I've got good friends, and I think I mean, friendship it comes in all shapes and sizes, doesn't it? Really.
But have you got any?
If you meet one good friend in life, you've done well.
Have you got? I've got like a brother.
Yeah, I've got close relationships with people. Yeah. What I've learnt over the last few years is I need to put my hand up and ask for help sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm so good at the outside exterior kind of look.
Well,
that no one thinks.
Well, you crafted it, didn't you?
Yeah, crafted. I built it, and to be honest, I've worked with the best as well. So and I've taken the best of everything I've ever learned and put it and built it and layered it on top of me. So no wonder, and it takes a long time for you to understand that. If I suddenly was diagnosed like Lewis Moody, fucking tragic, devastating news. I mean, that's death sentence that nobody wants, and it's horrific. And we will rally around him and his family and the people close to him. But equally, that's something that is very, very public now for him.
Of course.
But if we all have nothing as catastrophic as that, thank God, at the moment. But we all have little things and little problems that build up and build up and build up. And I've learned to put my hand up, and go and seek help, both just on my own, but also just because I'm a guy that smiles a lot as well. And I think, and I know for a fact that when I'm smiling, a lot of other people around me are smiling as well, because I enjoy that kind of and what I've learned as well is that it's okay. I can't stop being the person I am and caring for other people. I mean, I'm not, I give all my money away, give all my, I've spent most of my time putting back into the game, looking after kids, but you've got to look after yourself as well.
Yeah. 100%.
And have a bit of self-care. I've just always had a big smile on my face. And even through all the heartache and all the problems that some self-induced, some that have just come your way, we came through the other side and we had a lot of fun. And I think people have to, there is a huge sacrifice to pay, but you got to celebrate and remember the good times.
100%.
I feel connected with a lot of the players that I played with and against, in a different way to how we were, which is good. I think rugby's certainly certainly at Wasps we've done well to the fact that you and I are even talking now. The fact that we are quite well connected, even though we don't exist as a club anymore, as a professional club. But it's.
Talk to me about your charity, mate, and what it means to you, and why teenage boys.
Well, I think it's really hard having brought up kids having grown up myself in different circumstances from what people might think, but ultimately having that underlying kind of love and support system around me. You only used to tell your mum and dad you're going out to play football and I'll be back before it's dark, and that was the only thing you used to have to say.
Yeah.
There was no other complication in life.
Yeah.
And if you came back before it was dark, all was good. If you didn't, you got a clip round the ear.
Yeah.
And that was it. Now I think being a young kid growing up is really, really hard. And, being a parent trying to bring up young kids is equally as hard. And I just think that no kids are born bad. They're just born into chaos. And if I was 14 again and I found myself in a quite chaotic situation, either at home or anywhere else, would I want someone to come and help me? The answer is, of course I fucking would. And boys particularly, more so than ever before, need role models. We have a whole, the third most Googled word in this country is Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Which tells you everything. It's terrible. It's horrific. And I think that we tiptoe around every other section of society at the minute in this woke world that we live in.
Yeah.
But the most important, boys are really important in that.
Yeah, of course.
They're the ones that get the least amount of support and help.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why, when I set up the charity, I knew I wanted to give back because rugby had given me my life, and I wanted to share some of the experiences. And when I started to do a lot of work and investigate around using sport as a power force for good, I realised there was no one really working in that space. And then I realised, because I started to work with kids who were permanently excluded from school, and I was thinking, why are so many kids getting excluded every week?
Yeah.
And it's gone up from 120 a week to 240 since the pandemic, because we made that really stupid mistake of closing schools, which for some kids is the safest place to be.
Yeah.
And I just think that, in the same way as I received that kind of support system, you can change people's behaviours, and it's something I'm really passionate about. I want to work with every young person that's excluded in this country. I'm working with about 4,500 at the minute, but if 240 a week are being expelled, then the demand for what we do is there. And look, it's a very simple, it's about trust and consistency, a bit like a rugby team. You've got to trust a group of people, be consistent. If you're a teacher, you can't come in, or a parent, you can't come into someone's life and then fuck off again. You need to be there every week, and you need to be consistent.
Yeah.
And all these kids have just never had that. And then they get role models that come into their life, and then they want to be drug dealers or Premiership or Premier League footballers. And, we've created a programme that takes them on a 3 or 4 year journey. 75% of boys that are expelled permanently, 25% girls, for a whole myriad of different reasons, but not because they're born bad, because they've just had terrible childhood.
Yeah.
Drug abuse, violent abuse, generational unemployment, no parenting, immigrant, whatever it might be. There's a whole myriad of problems, but they're fixable, very fixable, with a bit of trust and stability. And we have a 98% conversion rate.
Brilliant.
We're in the results business. I mean,
Yeah.
where does the flag start, and what's the flag? What's the outcome? Well, the outcome is getting young kids into full-time employment or education. And currently 65% of everyone expelled ends up in prison. 6 out of 10 kids who are permanently excluded end up in prison, which is a huge cost.
Yeah.
The kids that go through our programme, and 98% end up in full-time employment.
Amazing.
So I'm effectively doing the government's job for them. But
Yeah.
and it's it's something I'm firmly passionate about. Sometimes have I spread myself too thin? Am I doing it at the opportunity cost of looking after myself? 100%. Just gone through a lot of financial issues myself, and I think to myself, Lawrence, you do, charity does start at home. You do need to earn some money yourself, but and I need to redress that balance, and I'm doing a certain amount to redress that balance. But there's no greater gift in life than giving, and that's something and it's not always about money. It's about energy. It's about your time.
Yeah.
And I think if the last 20 years have taught me anything, I've given a lot of joy to a lot of people, but I just need to give a little bit to myself as well.
Yeah. What brings you joy? What brings you joy?
I think at the moment, just being present and being in the moment, and not having to, I'm 53, I'm healthy, I'm on a journey now of self-discovery, and the small things, as you get through life, whether it's the way of the tail, whatever, you realise, you declutter, you decomplicate, you become less complex. There's a I feel conscience free because there's an honesty that exists from within, and it's the sun's shining, you feel the breeze on your face, and I take a bit of time to meditate a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening.
Yeah.
Call it prayer, is what I used to call it when I was Catholic. I've had a few things that have challenged my religion and my beliefs over the years. I've got to be honest with you, but it's still a way of tuning in or tuning out and tuning in to yourself and centering yourself and.
So would you say, I know it's a word that is misunderstood, but would you say that you're tapping more into the spirituality of life as you get older?
Well, you have to. Because
I always thought you had that in you.
I know I've got a deep emotional connection, but I just lost it. I just lost it with myself along the way. I was never wired that way. Trust me.
You was always a deep seeker, though, weren't you?
Deep seeker, deep thinker, but also I can feel it more in other people. I can feel other people. I can go into a room and I can feel where the energy is.
Yeah.
And and you can change the energy as well. And
you mentioned in your
I feel very I've never, you said it yourself, and a lot of guys will relate to this. I've always been like a fucking runaway train, mate, like 100 miles an hour, out of control, and I've never felt more living in the moment now. People used to say to me, Thich Nhat Hanh and all this sort of stuff, and I used to listen to these readings, and I go, you just need to be present, and you need to be in the moment.
But you were probably like me. You were reading all this stuff, but you didn't tell anybody, did you?
No, but I also never really understood what the hell they're on about.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going, what do you mean living in the moment? I've got time to live in the moment and be present. What about I've got, you know, and I am, and I'm still working it out, but I feel much more like I know what I'm doing now. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a puzzle, and there's no doubt that I haven't got it right.
You have to come on one. You'll have to come on one of my retreats,
all the
mate.
pieces have been a little bit out of order, you know, and I can't find the edges, and I can't find this, that, and the other. This is to myself, really, and because I've spent all my time bringing, you know, although it's been selfish on one side, it's been selfless on the other side because I've given everything to everyone. Yeah. And a bit too much of my energy, really.
I'll have to get you on one of my retreats.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. No, I'm ready for it, man. Ready for it.
Mate, what does you're 53, you're in good shape, you've got a long time left, hopefully. What does being a great dad look like for you in the next few years?
I think just being there as a support system.
Presence,
being present, being in the moment, and you know, being just talking both ways, being open and talking and just being present. I mean, I thought I became a parent at the age of 24, and I didn't fucking have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, even in terms of looking after myself. Of course. Let alone anything else. And then you've inherited this other fucking family of, you know, brothers, you know, and a lot of people go to work and they don't fucking care about the people they work with. Yeah. You know, that's just a job. But I chose a job where I really cared about everyone I worked with, more so than I probably should have done, to the point where, you know, it was inextricably linked to everything else. So I think just being present and just trying to be the best version of yourself, because I know it's in there and it exists and it's so powerful. And so when everything's centered right and you pointed in the right direction, anything, and a bit like what my mum used to say, you go back to that, anything and everything is possible. Yeah. You know, you can change the world, you can be a force for good, and you can do some really cool shit. If you get a few little things out of, you know, a few little things in the wrong place, you can be a force for fucking badness as well. Yeah. And I've been quite good at that, you know, to myself as well. Yeah. And you know, I've had enough of that because I'm now in the second part of the journey. I mean, I've got another 53 years, I reckon. Yeah. A lot of people might differ. Anyone who's been on a night out with me might disagree with that and say that that's not quite the case. But you know, that's another thing my mum taught me. You know, you can always catch up on a good night's sleep, but never a good night out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I have to realise that those nights can be days as well now.
100%, mate.
They don't have to be. They don't have to be all nights out.
You need to get into day raves. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, into. Well, I'm definitely getting into just to slowing down a little bit, because it's, listen, when you go through periods in your life, there's nothing better. There's no better feeling than that. You're fucking invincible. Yeah. But you can't do it forever. And there's different ways of appreciating what you've created, what you have. And I think you need to get a real deeper understanding of what self-worth is. What, you know, I've done some amazing shit in my life. Yeah. And I've there's a lot I should be really proud of. Mm. But unfortunately, I spent a lot of my life beating myself up and going, oh, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I need to do more. I need to do better. I need to do more. And I think understanding that and going, fuck me, Lawrence, you know, some people, you've had about 12 lives, mate. Yeah. And you just need to sometimes take time to, because again, that's something that I sort of blame the game, really. It never gives you time to, I mean, yeah, we had good nights out, but I mean, you know, I would have had them anyway, whether I played rugby or not. Of course. It doesn't give you time to reflect on the good things on the love that you spread everywhere. Yeah. You know, and it's not till you get stopped in the street and people go, you fucking changed my life, mate. Yeah. You changed my life forever. You know, you and a group of lads, really. So, and you know, whether that's at WAS or England, so it's being able to reward yourself, but do it in the right way. Just go. Yeah, you can be proud of what you've achieved. Yeah. But you know, you can't always try and conquer the fucking next Everest every day.
No, you got to be kind to yourself, mate.
Yeah, no. Base camp will do.
Are you kinder to yourself now than you used to be?
Yeah, much kinder. I mean, you have to be. And if I want to, experience some memories share some memories with my children and the people that I care about over the next 20, 30 years, without needing to rely on them too much, you're going to have to be a bit kinder, because there's payback definitely for the things that we put ourselves through. But I think physically great. Still got to work on the. I'm still working on the mental side, but the pieces are slowly coming back together, and I'm getting the jigsaw the pieces in the right place.
Nice.
And there's no better people to be around when you're kind of there in the moment, because there's an energy in it, that radiates.
Yeah.
And I've always been a radiator, really.
Beautiful, mate. It's been an honour to talk to you again. Finally,
to listen. Unfortunately, I still haven't.
It's been an honour. Thanks for your openness, because a lot of people, especially blokes, will watch this and be inspired by your level of openness.
Well, I hope so, and I think the message is, doesn't matter where you are. I mean, two things really. Firstly, no matter how bad you are in life and how low you feel, there's always fucking people worse off than you.
Yeah.
And you've only got to switch your fucking TV screen on or your phone on to realise that. And sometimes, and I've spent a lot of my time, I've reaffirmed that with myself. I said, look at this fucking bloke. He's had 2 legs blown off. He's got fucking 1 arm left, and yet he's fucking smiling. So what have you got to trouble yourself with? Because we have first world problems that aren't problems at all. We just allow them to become problems. And the second thing is, if what I've learned over the last probably 10 years, but in more so in the last 3 years, is as tough as you are, as fucking alpha and as fierce as you are, you still need help.
Yeah.
You still need help. You can't do it all on your own. And I mean, I couldn't win games of rugby on my own. I wish I could have done, but I didn't. I needed help.
Yeah.
And I was one part of a lot of people that helps, including those on the pitch and those off it.
Yeah.
And life's the same. You can't do it on your own. It's just taken me a bit of time to realise that.
Yeah.
And to go looking for that help, and the signs have been there. I mean, the cracks have been there for a lot of people to see.
Yeah.
But I spent the first 30 years of my life fucking papering over those cracks quite nicely.
Yeah.
And and fixing them with fucking with cement.
Yeah.
So it takes a bit of time to break them down, But also it's the biggest challenge. The next 20, 30 years is a real big challenge, because winning the first part of your life is the easy bit, really.
Yeah.
Winning the next part of it is and it's day by day.
Yeah.
Day by day. But stay in the moment, stay present.
And the journey switches to that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. And that's what it's all about. And being able to be the best version of yourself. Acknowledge where the fault lines are, set them in the right direction. And also, not everyone's going to like you, mate. I mean, it's fine, it's okay.
Yeah.
But more people will than won't.
Yeah.
And and I still haven't changed my philosophy that life is about sharing with other people. Otherwise, we'd be on the planet on our own, wouldn't we? And we're not.
Yeah.
We're there to share our experiences with other people.
Yeah.
And giving, being selfless and giving up your time for other people is still really important for me. It still gives me a huge amount of pleasure, but I just need to get the balance on the scale.
Fill your own cup up first, eh?
Yeah, well, occasionally, and not drink it straight away and go and fill it up again. But I'm in a good place. I'm happy, and you can see I'm emotional because it's good to talk about this, And when I talk about it, I get even more emotional.
Yeah.
But it's no different from when I played.
Yeah.
But now it's real.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not just doing it for the fucking W at the weekend.
Of course.
which makes it even, And I've never had a problem shedding a tear, but a proper tears now.
Yeah. Well, thanks for everything, mate.
Pleasure.
If anybody wants to find out about your charity or
Rugby Works is
Rugby
what
Works.
I do. Rugby Works is the website's there. I think it's going so well. I'm so proud of the legacy that it's created, and I just think just because you're excluded from school doesn't mean you should be excluded from life.
Mm.
And this notion that we are a country that has that has created one pipeline that suits all, that everyone's going to go to fucking university. It's not like that, mate.
Yeah.
It's we're all born in different parts of the country, and we have different tools. And I think slowly but surely, people who are much cleverer than you and I are starting to realise that it's fooked. The education system is a busted flush.
It's gone.
And when the average age of a bricklayer is 53, you know you've got problems, haven't you, really?
Yeah.
So it's just...
So rugbyworks.com, is it?
Rugbyworks.com, yeah. We're a nationwide charity.
And if people want to tap into you, speak...
Yeah, well, then just you can get to me through there, but we are, you know, we're not untouchable. There's, you know, the reason it's such a successful charity is because, you know, there's a lot of good coaches, mentors, people that are helping other people to get them to you know, to improve their life. Really, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know, it's about you know, just helping people to get them to a better place. And I shall look forward to coming on one of your retreats.
Yeah, man. I'll let you in on that.
I'm off to Kenya for a little 2 or 3 week. Well, I'm going on a little. Just myself and my partner are just going to go away for 2 weeks. Beautiful country, proper Africa.
Safari.
Yeah,
Zanzibar.
You know, I've been to South Africa, but I mean that's not proper Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean? And when I got to Kenya, I said, "This is proper Africa."
Cool.
You know, because no one's trying to kill me. No, so I'm going. Yeah, so I'm going to Nairobi, then down to the coast for a week, down to Watamu, which is beautiful, and Lamu, little island just off Watamu, and then up to the Masai Mara reservation for just turn the phone off for 2 weeks and just.
Been before?
I went last year.
Nice.
Again, you know, I think these things don't help anyone's life at all.
No.
You know, and it's not till I get involved in things that I don't need it. When I go away and I just don't turn, my life hasn't changed in any. There's nothing that's enhanced my life by looking at that.
Of course.
And you know, the one thing I did enjoy about playing is that you had an excuse to say no to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, but and I just was never very good at that. But now I'm learning that, you know, that you can just declutter and decomplicate your life, and that thing is probably one of the. I'd get rid of them all if I could.
Yeah, me too. I hear you.
You know, just go back to old-fashioned friendships and relationships. You know, the art of communication.
Well, good on you, mate. It's good to see you slowing down.
Yeah, well, trying.
You can buy me a coffee now. We'll talk about China Whites.
Yeah, well, I do need a coffee. Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
I'm actually going to talk at an event tonight, so I'll be spreading my calmness to them as well. It's very very chilled actually. When I speak to people now, just, you know, there's obviously, you know, lots of fucking war stories and good times, and you know, people want to hear that, but there's a much more deeper meaning to.
You feel more like yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit closer. I've still got a way to go, but I lost who I was because I created something that I wasn't, and that takes a bit of unpacking.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fucking good fun and successful for a while.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the damage is quite extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for your openness, mate.
Pleasure.
I'll look forward to seeing you soon.